The code switch.
Why are we needing children to look like colors? Yeah,
so only yellow bones get married.
I guess it's late for me, right?
And some of us maybe will get divorced because our
discounted lobola for me, right? Us with our dark beauty's hair, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's a great intro to our discussion today. We're talking about that Sunday Twitter favorite, OPW, Our Perfect Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Mahano, I know you're just not loving the show.
Mm-hmm.
You just think the show is problematic on so many levels. Why did you write this article? Because I know you wrote an opinion piece basically saying, is it really our perfect wedding? And essentially, but actually, I'm not even going to get into it. You tell us what your problem is.
Offended you.
So I think just fundamentally, I think it is just an offensive representation of what our marriage processes are. I think for me, there is something within African culture that says a marriage is between two families.
Mm-hmm.
It is not just between two people.
Mm-hmm.
So I find the show problematic from that perspective, first and foremost.
And it's also not a one-day event.
That's what I was getting to. So it's between two families and not two people. And then it's also not a 1 day, a 2 day event as it's been put to come across. It takes years and months of planning. There's lobola negotiations, there's celebrations that need to happen, to celebrate the mothers and honor the families and all of that until we get to a white wedding event, if at all. If at all it happens. So that's why I find the show to be problematic in that it's just this continued perpetuation of the adoption of a culture that is not necessarily ours, and we just continue to feed that to our people to say this is what you must aspire to. So that's why I'm just really still uncomfortable with the show. And there's so many other things that we can unpack about it, but the crux of it for me is just rests there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is this not you, my friend? I love you, but are you not just being a clever black who doesn't want to see unsanitized versions of blackness? I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm on your side here, actually.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think it's that. So I just the show itself, in and of itself, I'm just like, great, yes, our people are on TV, and I don't mind that people watch it.
You don't mind.
I don't mind that people watch it and that people are getting, it's getting the ratings that it's getting. But I just think that there should be a little bit more deliberateness and responsibility from the producers in terms of what they're actually putting out there.
What exactly is wrong? Because I mean, Sepe, I know you also are not a fan of this, and you said this. What exactly? Because we're saying that it's not a great movie. What exactly is the issue?
Look, I think often that's why when we just bring in other events, right, that I think around the same thing, we got mad. I'm not quite sure how you feel about Leon Schuster, but he makes money.
Problematic on a number of levels.
He makes money off making fun of black folk, and it's not just black folk in his defense. Indians, everybody gets attacked, but largely black people. And the argument can be, well, in South Africa they're mostly black people, so that's why. For me, I take exception to it, and I think Our Perfect Wedding does that because, barring maybe one episode,
which was the interracial one?
Yes, right. Where things look normal.
Was it last week's episode?
No, it's a little while back.
Okay.
Every other show has been, not necessarily it's disastrous, but it's poor planning. As you say, it leaves out very important elements to, you write, two families coming together where we get married. I think it's just disastrous sometimes.
We laugh at the dresses.
We laugh at the dresses. We laugh at the
questioning sexuality.
We question sexuality, right? It literally is.
I saw that trending.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Supposed to be getting married. Like
they're literally. I think they're making fun of what is meant to be, I imagine, a sacred, events for these two people, but they're actually allowing all of South Africa to make fun, to question all of these things. That for me is lazy. But the really sad part about all of this is that this is what we want to see, and that's why it trends.
I feel it's a three-way story. You know, from a production and television point of view, there was a brief. You know, maybe the brief says we can't show all of the stuff that Black people would love other people to know about our ceremonies, you know. And then there's the couples who actually agreeing to go on screen, guys. You know what I mean?
Do you think they knew that it would get? Because I mean, other seasons were not as slapstick as this one.
Yeah.
This one was the one that. So there's clearly a deliberate intention.
Yes.
And then I guess that's the question that we then ask, right? That
Were they
clearly
aware?
the production team is responding to a demand. They've seen their ratings going up. So can we really
episodes?
exactly? So can we really blame them for giving the public what they want?
The message.
I don't know. I think they know. These people are sharp enough. When you're in this business, you know what works. You know what people respond to. So that the lowest common denominator always
Lowest
works.
common commercial denominator is
It always works. So
yeah.
I don't think, let's not blame audiences here, because we'll watch whatever's put out there.
Yes.
It'll take us a while to get used to it, but we'll watch. So I don't think it's our fault.
I think speaking to that, what's been interesting is seeing this generation's situation,
Yes.
generations being off
Exactly.
and people was like, oh, people are never going to watch TV at 8 on SABC 1. But now Skim Sam is doing really well. It's become like the latest ratings hogger, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, what are you putting out there for people to consume? Because I think there's a desperate need from people to see themselves, right? So for me, it's this, regardless of how you frame me, I will go because I actually want to see myself. So that's why I'm saying the responsibility then rests with the producers too. And so I'm like, what is our responsibility in terms of how we frame people in terms of representing
So
them?
my question is, then what was the opportunity missed? What do you think it should have looked like?
It should have looked like a real Black wedding.
What's a real Black wedding?
Like not a real. Okay, it should have looked like
real-
what we all have been accustomed to.
Yeah.
That
But who's we?
we, as in like, it's a generalization.
collective,
As a Black collective, like a lot of the times, and this is not everyone, obviously, but a lot of the times, a wedding is something that there's vulamlomo and there's it's a process. It's long and it's fun also. So it's not all like my sister only had a white wedding like 4 years after she was married. You know. So it's like I watch Our Perfect Wedding and I'm just like I like it because it's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's, like for me, it's like
Is this the Kardashians of South Africa?
it's not the Kardashians because it's with the Kardashians you're, like it's still there's this glamorization of them.
Oh, so this is just, we want to see the worst of people.
Okay,
Yes, there is a glamorization of
help
the
me understand
Kardashians. Yes.
this. I don't watch TV, right? And I've never seen an episode of Repeater Wedding. So hence I try and speak from what I know. You know, like hence I'm bringing in the TV production thing. So you say this is the third season. In the first 2 seasons, did they show Abu Vulamlomo and all that?
They did in some weddings, not all of them, but there were some really traditional weddings where obviously it's an hour show with a whole lot of advertising. So let's say it's a 40-minute show, and obviously they can't fit everything in there, and they will.
So you feel like they're choosing the wrong things to put in.
But
That's
this is
for
the
me,
thing.
this is where I wanted to get to. So in the previous 2 seasons, the focus was not on the drama. Whereas I feel the 3rd season has become about the drama of. So the 3rd season is about all the things that did not go right leading up to the day, as opposed to what is the planning process. What were you guys doing? So it's now we're just looking at the cake that was messed up, the
mother not bringing the dress,
the people not bringing the dresses, or just why would you choose a dress like that, or just the focus has really changed, and it's just really. Now they're just deliberately focusing on the wrong thing.
So this is my question, right? And I think maybe what we're getting at is that, or a point I'd like to get at is that, one, when you work in TV, you have shot, even if you just shoot 2 days, the editing process is very deliberate. That you choose 30 seconds into a conversation versus even 10 seconds makes a huge difference. So even in that process, it's not a mistake. It's this something very deliberate about what we do. I think the beauty is in the mission many times, and I'd love to see what is on the cutting floor at that wedding. But this is what I want to ask you, Tato. In your article, you don't bring this up here. You speak about the added layer of disappointment because Our Perfect Wedding is by a black company. Tell us about that.
So, so I was watching one episode, so I don't actually watch it every weekend, but it was one of the episodes I was watching, and then I actually realized that Basitsana Kumalo, co-owner of Zolapelo Productions, is actually an executive producer of the show. So I just sat there and I was just like, so you give white people top billing, or upper middle class people top billing, and then us, you give us this, right? But then I was just like, actually, let me remove that lens of race and just talk about just what are you feeding people as a black person, because I think we've been represented in many ways that have been disparaging to us, and we've been made tropes, we've been made caricatures all over the world. So when you have an opportunity as a black media company or someone who has some level of control in a media company who is black to continue to do that, I think is really disappointing for me.
I think for me, the added point there is that I think had it been a white company, I would have then maybe given them the pass that you don't understand.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't understand our weddings. And maybe it is a black company that doesn't understand. Maybe it is that we've gotten so used to retrofitting ourselves into Western and white ideals, such that here, our only framework for how it should... No, and in fact, actually, I won't even give them that pass because of the last shows you have been doing it. So there was clearly a deliberate intention to say, let's go and let's turn the level down, up the ante on the drama, and we're going to get a ratings boom. So I guess the question is, we continue to have all these debates about cultural representations, black poverty, we don't want to be seeing it, or poor black people, we don't want to be seeing that, or messiness, the messiness of what it is to be black at different points in time. Are we placing this onus on the owners of cultural production do you think it's fair to be expecting them to give us the best representations of ourselves?
I feel like it isn't, personally, because from a television perspective, if you say the first 2 seasons did justice to our culture, then why are they not allowed to switch it up? I'm half defending here, only because I have not witnessed what we're talking about. So I'm speaking from a professional point of view, as an editor, as an aspiring whatever. If they did justice in the first 2 seasons, I think they're allowed to switch it up. Yes, we might not like it. We're allowed to not like it. We're allowed to voice and tweet and all of that. But they also have a right to switch it up. They've done right by us, according to you, in the past 2 seasons. And we don't know. We don't know what they'll do in the 5th season.
You think this was just an experiment?
TV,
they were saying,
let's switch it up. Exciting.
I think at the end of the day, it's business, right? For them, it's what gets us higher ratings, what makes us more money. And they would not be a business if profit was not their first priority. So we can't fault them on doing that. If it offends us culturally, we have the power in the remote, you just turn off. Because that essentially is where our power lies. But we don't always use that. Same thing with generation. We've been complaining that the content is crap. But at 8 o'clock,
we want it back.
Is it an issue of not having alternatives?
Right? I don't think it's that. I think we are actually lazy in forcing producers to do better. We've let them get away with things. So
and they know that,
and they know that. And we come back and we sit down. So I think on the one end it's very unfair to say to them, don't meet your bottom line, because ultimately that's what it's about. I think given the success that they've had, it's not like they're a startup, that it's about just the money. I think their brands, particularly Basitsana's brand, is powerful enough for her to say, well, here, maybe the numbers will figure themselves out at some point. I have a platform and an opportunity to present black people in a particular way in this country. And as you said, you make decisions. They had the choice to either we show the entire process and we celebrate our cultures, or we make fun of black people, and unfortunately they chose the latter.
But also, I don't think black production houses owe us the right representation, and it just goes to even black capitalists. They don't owe us like the helping hand in the river. They don't. It would be very nice if they just gave the damn hand because we are drowning or whatever.
So this is my question then, right? If we're then speaking about moral duty and whatnot, let's think about what is the effect, the continued effect of these images of blackness. What do we think is going to happen? Us who are so upset about it, what does this do to us and to our minds?
So for me, it is just so. and I've said this before, it's the perpetuation of a narrative that's been set by somebody else. And then us as black people continuing to play into it and feed it. So we don't change the game in terms of allowing us as black people to change the narratives about ourselves. And I think that's why fundamentally my problem is with productions like OPW. It's just, we underestimate the ability of imagery to influence people, right? So you take that a lot more with you because you've seen it in picture form as opposed to somebody telling you. So then you was like, oh, all black people are like this. They can't plan. They are disastrous in how
their
they do
weddings
things.
start 10 hours late,
right? And
To have a
also,
great wedding, I must be able to have top billing money. That's the only way I can
Yes,
have a great wedding.
also that,
right?
because there is a comparison that happens now that only rich black people can actually have a decent.
So the question was, are we then going to see Malusi Kigaba's wedding on our perfect wedding?
No,
we won't. It will be on top billing. So that's just like,
why do you
why
afford him
can
that
we
dignity?
not?
I mean, the fact that it's intuitive.
Yes.
And that's just, it's so
That's what I'm saying.
funny to see that the fact that it was intuitive, that you know that
Status and money. That's
you
what
know,
it is.
there's certain people who are allowed to be shown at their worst.
Yes.
But there are others who don't get to be shown at their best. So this is my question for you. So all of you idealists here, myself included, we understand the pressures of the bottom line. We know what the market wants. If it was that you were given a brief, but Susan says, fine, you guys have complained, come and do this thing. Come and show me what it is that we need to be doing. What would you do given all of the different pressures? Now, there's been a precedent that's been set by OPW. What kind of production are you going to make that gives the nuanced representations of blackness and at the same time ensures that we get the bottom line?
I'd actually not cover the white dress wedding. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd really take the cultural perspective, look at the, like, it will probably be longer, like it will happen over a longer period of time than how OPW, I wouldn't know how it works
So
now.
I would say to you as the son, sorry, Panto, I would say do not focus on the bottom line right now. I understand we need to make money. We will need to find other ways of making money through other productions. But if in this specific context, if you're saying to me, go and make production, I would say forego the bottom line, well, the same bottom line as the current format that OPW is in, because what we need to be doing is re-educating people. That's where I would say my production would look like. So I'd be very focused and intentional about, I know that there's mishaps and there's disaster in every wedding, even in a top billing wedding, but you purposefully edit that out when you're showing whoever's wedding on top billing. I would then do the same here with our perfect weddings. So those I want to see the intercultural conflict. And then the uncles are called in, they sit in a meeting, they talk about these things. It's just like, how do we resolve, how do we move forward, and then what's the conclusion, and then how do we move forward? I want to see some those nuances of cultural dynamics, right?
The richness
of that, because I think we are dying to see a lot of
Sarah's just got she's looking and she's sipping tea and what?
No, I agree with you there. But then again, I mean, is this a? I'm trying to think what the program on SABC2 is about culture.
The vendor one.
The vendor one.
Yes.
Right? Is it that kind of show, or is it a? I mean, at what point do you want to make sure that you preserve the entertainment? Right? Because sometimes it's so good and well to be educational, but educational isn't always entertaining.
So I think that the uncles in conflict can be very hilarious.
Because we all have
Very
the drunk
hilarious,
uncle. So
right?
the drunk uncle narrative, we have other narratives that are not necessarily negative. Hi, I'm Sebenzile Nkambule. I am a broadcaster, both radio and television. Anything interesting about me? Not much. I'm just a very interested person in the world and people, their stories, where they're from, and a bit of gossip is always fun as well.